welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Fan Appreciation Month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm taking a look at a French film from 2008 called Martyrs. Would you like me to tell you everything I know about Martyrs? I'm basing this entirely off of messages that you guys sent to me. That right there was all my basis on this. The only thing I know about this movie is that it is disturbing. I'm going to tell you right now, that lone reason has got a very poor track record with this show. Almost every movie I have done simply because people have told me it's sick or disturbing or twisted winds up being about as disturbing as your average YouTube kitten video. So I'm going to call it right now, this movie is in no way disturbing. So I am not even going to be looking for that. I am asking the bare minimum on this one because also my history with French films in this series is not that good. I'm just hoping for it to be at least entertaining. So if it can meet even those barest of standards, I'll be a happy guy. Okay, that is the least I'm asking for. Is I want this thing to at least be entertaining because I already know it's not gonna be fucking disturbing. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Martyrs. Alright, I genuinely hope that every member of this fucking yuppie bullshit family dies a very slow, very painful, hopefully bloody death. Oh, thank God, and one of them is down. Shotgun to the fucking chest. Wow, this movie was boring at first, but now it's starting to look up. She just asked if she would ever be free from killing random families because of some shit that happened to her in her warped and disturbing childhood. Well, yeah. It will stop happening if you just, you know, don't go out for vengeance when you don't have the foggiest clue who tortured you for most of your fucking childhood. Just saying. So, remind me again how any of this is supposed to be disturbing. I just saw Lucy get the ever-loving shit beaten out of her by her fucking imaginary friend. So, yeah, I saw that done a lot better in Fight Club, but no one's ever going to say that Fight Club is, you know, disturbing, now are they? So let me see if I got this straight. You rip a metal headpiece off of this poor woman's head. A metal headpiece that could probably have been there for a long goddamn while, knowing full well that her eyes are probably ridiculously sensitive to light now. You wait until after that fucking thing is off to walk over, slowly walk over, grab a towel and put it around her head. I swear to God, guys, if this movie does not begin to grow a little logic soon, I'm going to get a bit pissed. Alright, so now she apparently has just given up and is now pissing in the bucket which her captors so happily provide for her. You know, if they really wanted to make, you know, true victims, they wanted to show and they wanted these people to experience true suffering, I don't think that they would have provided a hole in the bottom of the chair and a bucket to catch everything. I think they would have just let you just stew in, maybe, you know, like stew in your own waste. Wouldn't that cause even more suffering? Again, though, that is me trying to put the square pudding, that is me trying to put the square peg of logic into this movie's round hole. It just isn't gonna fit. You know, guys, I totally understand I said I wasn't going to harp on this because I kind of sort of expected nothing, but I'm still waiting for whatever the fuck moment everybody thought was so goddamn disturbing. I mean, we have already seen Anna with 99% of her skin cut off, and it still isn't fucking disturbing. I mean, it had a pretty cool effect, but it still wasn't fucking disturbing, and it wasn't nasty, and it wasn't nauseating. I'm really curious what in the fuck everybody else is seeing that I'm not. Thank fucking God that's done. Let me shut that off. Well, folks, that was Martyrs, and this movie, right towards the end, it decides to define martyr. And it simply defines it under one word. Witness. I've got the dictionary. No, actually, this isn't even dictionary.com. This is the definition from Merriam-Webster.com. They give 3 different definitions of martyr. None of them are just witness. Allow me to sum this up. Martyr, noun. First definition, a person who voluntarily suffers death as a penalty of witnessing to and refusing to renounce a religion. This movie goes on and on about how martyrdom is not just a religious principle. Well, it's not, because now we have the second one, a person who sacrifices something of great value, and especially life itself, for the sake of principle. It doesn't have to just be religion, it can be principle. None of these are person who has been turned into a homemade Cenobite so that way they can see into the afterlife long enough to actually report back. That is not a fucking martyr. That's stupid. And that's exactly what this movie is doing, folks. I just spoiled the entire film for you. It is basically about this bunch of nut jobs who are torturing people and turning them into essentially homemade, vat-grown Cenobites so that way they can suffer enough where they can pass over into the other world and hopefully still be able to come back and tell them what it's like to be there. But, of course, that's one way you could look at it. There's probably going to be a bunch of comments talking about how there's a much deeper meaning to it all, but no, it is about a bunch of nut jobs who are creating Cenobites and hoping that the Cenobites will tell them what that blissful suffering world is like. Frankly, I kind of think that Hellraiser did the whole we want to see exactly how far the human mind can deal with suffering a hell of a lot better than this thing did, and Hellraiser's a hell of a lot older and spawned a bunch of sequels, some of which were good, others, well, let's not talk about the others. But now I'm really just ranting at this point. I haven't even gotten into the movie itself yet. I'm just bitching about the very premise of the film. And even then, that is only half of the premise. That honestly is the bullshit premise that gets shoveled in halfway through when they kill what we assumed was the main character before the first half is done. Yeah, spoiler, Lucy dies within the first half of the film when her fucking imaginary friend causes her to slit, her own throat. Yeah, guys, I am going to spoil a lot about this movie because, frankly, there's nothing worth seeing here. And this guy should tell you exactly how little I cared about this fucking movie. I'm openly willing to spoil a lot of major plot points for you. However, though, these really aren't major because you kind of see them coming long before they happen. So, to clarify, this really does feel like two totally different movies which have just been duct taped together in the sloppiest way possible. Because it starts with a woman who was held captive for years, somehow escaping her captors, and has been in a nut house for much of her life, and now that she's out of the nut house, she's hunting down the people who tortured her. She finds them, she kills them, and instead of just hiding the bodies and running, she and her girlfriend decide to live in the house and take their sweet time hiding the bodies. At which point they then find they then find another one of these vat-grown Cenobites in the sub-basement, which then leads to the second half where they find out that Lucy is dead, and they are now going to test Anna for their bizarre bullshit definition of martyrdom, so that way they can try to find someone who can suffer enough to travel into the other side by turning her into a fucking Cenobite, and this time it's just skin most of her body and hope for the best. There we go, guys. I just summed up the entire film for you, but wait, but was any of that in any way engaging over the course of the film? No. The writing in this thing absolutely sucks. Not only does it feel like two completely different ideas, just very, very quickly like Frankensteined into a single film, but there is not a single character in here you can give a shit about. I mean, I did not care about Anna. I didn't care about Lucy. I didn't care about the nut jobs who were keeping them captive. I didn't give a shit about the bunch of fucking yuppie assholes that Lucy shoots up. I didn't care about any of them. By the way, that is the entire cast. I just gave you the full cast list, and yeah, only two of them have names that are worth knowing, and that's Lucy and Anna, because they are our main characters for the first half and second half of the film. So yeah, guys, the writing here just felt horrifically lazy. I mean, it's like, they really could have done something good here. Perhaps maybe by focusing on one half or the other half and turning it into a full-length film, instead of taking what could have made for two slightly interesting short films and trying to stitch them together. It just didn't work out to me. The acting. I cannot talk about the acting in the film itself because I decided to watch the English dub. However, the English dub, I will say, is complete and total shit. And if you do decide to watch this, your best bet's to watch it in French with English subs. You might have better luck there. Good God, let me think. But yeah, the acting, voice acting at least, in the English dub, it feels lazy. It feels just phoned in. Nobody seemed to give a shit. Unless they were screaming, then they honestly seemed to want to go to fucking town. But when they had to actually act, when they actually had to emote beyond screaming, it failed miserably, and it sucked on top of it. Now, I want to talk about the one thing everybody was telling me about. They called this thing disturbing, and I called it at the very start of this video. This fucker is in no way disturbing. The only way you will find this fucking thing disturbing is if you found the Hostel films and the Saw films to just be too much for you. Then you might be able to tolerate this, because this right here is the same kind of softball torture porn bullshit that has been coming out on an almost constant basis for the last decade or so. It does nothing to attempt to separate itself outside of, well, borrowing heavily the whole thing about suffering tons and tons in order to travel into another world by turning you into a fucking Cenobite. That, of course, lifted wholesale from the Hellraiser franchise, and you all know I'm a fan of that. So yeah, I am kind of a fan of Saw, I'm kind of a fan of Hostel, I'm kind of a fan of Hellraiser. When you take all three of those and you put them all together, you'd almost expect something good. No, you get this. And this was probably one of the least disturbing films I've seen in a long fucking time. So, but what about the effects? I know some of you are going to ask that. What about the effects? Effects are pretty good, alright? I'm talking about when Anna is skinned and they're, you know, like baking her under a fucking sun lamp. That whole fucking effect looks really good. And like the 2 or 3 different like homemade fucking Cenobites we see, even though all of them just basically look like a disgusting cross between Gollum and Amy, you know, Winehouse, it still is really good makeup on those. It's just that they really weren't frightening or, you know, shocking in any way. I just saw it and my first thought was, so Gollum and Amy Winehouse had a daughter at some point. That really was my one thought, and that's kind of sad when you really think about it. Otherwise, like, makeup effects and gore effects were really good, and I'm not going to try to discount or diss any of that, because frankly, that really was this film's bright shining moment, was all of the makeup effects and all of the gore effects. All of that was done very, very well. I just wish that the film had more to work with it. I mean, I kind of wish it had a more engaging story. I wish it had better characters. The music, well, I don't really remember hearing any music, so I can't really even talk about that. The sound mix, well, again, I was listening to the English dub, and the sound mix is fine there. I'm going to assume it's just as good if you watch it in French. Ultimately, is this movie good? No. Is it bad? Yeah. Could it have been better? Most certainly. I mean, and as I've stated, if they would have taken either the first half or the second half and fleshed it out to a full-length film, we might have had something awesome there. We might have had something with a lot more promise. Maybe if we knew more about why this cult of weirdos are trying to figure out how to make the perfect fucking Cenobite, perhaps maybe I would give a shit. But they don't. Everything here is just kind of barely fucking explained, and their methods of torture are just so fucking samey and by the numbers. I mean, guys, I'm gonna tell you, right here is Anna's entire torture like regimen. They feed her this bizarre mush. Then some guy comes in and he just beats the living shit out of her, and then that's it. Lather, rinse, repeat until she finally just gives up hope, and then they begin to see that, you know, fucking, you know, like 1,000-yard gaze, which is now proof that she is in fact a true martyr now. Oh, and of course then they mix it up every so often by, you know, shaving her head or changing out her fucking piss bucket or giving her a sponge bath. Apparently that's torturous. But otherwise it's just you feed her this nasty gruel and then some dude in like a satiny shirt comes in and just starts fucking pounding on her. Literally, that's it. And apparently that is all that it took for Anna's soul or her spirit to be fucking broken, which means that she had no motherfucking resolve in the first place, because I think that a normal person would have probably survived that a little bit better. Now, Martyrs did come off of the Amazon.com wish list. The person who sent it in is Zach, and he has a website he wants me to promote, which, well, I mean, some of you guys have watched enough of this, so you may have already checked out the site. And if you haven't, go over to it. It is sites.google.com/the literature of Zachary Hardy. Yeah, I've got to have it all written down here because it's kind of a long URL. But yeah, guys, go over there, check it out. And Zach, thanks, dude. This movie, I was really curious if this thing was going to live up to any of the expectations that people had set for it in terms of being nasty or, you know, fucking disturbing, because God knows nobody was willing to tell me anything about it being, you know, a decent story or anything like that, and sadly it kind of failed there. But the only way that I would have found out is if I would have watched it, and I would probably have never watched it unless somebody sent it in. So, dude, thank you. I'm really happy that I finally had the chance to watch this, and I just kind of wish that it was better, all things considered. So, folks, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.